A man named Takaru lived an ordinary life in Japan, spending his days trapped in the same cycle of work and boredom. One night, while flipping on the TV to escape his dull routine, something strange happened. The glow from his glasses flared, and before he could react, he was pulled out of his world entirely. When he opened his eyes, he was sitting in a quiet room. A man with a calm smile offered him tea. Bewildered, Takaru listened as the stranger explained he was the manager of their solar system. To prove his words, the man shaped a tiny planet in the palm of his hand and called it Matius. The planet was barren, but with just a single drop of water, it began to change. The man told Takaru that his presence in this world would have the same effect. He could bring life where none should exist. But there was a price. Takaru had already died in his original world, and his soul would never return. With no other choice, Takaru agreed. The manager granted him immense magical power, limitless energy, and a few helpful tools. An endless bag for storage, a searching ability for rare treasures, and a local language to survive. Takaru even asked for a companion, a small hare, and was granted one. Soon after, his body began to fade as he was pulled into this new land. He awoke under the shade of a tree in a vibrant forest. Above him hung a massive ringed planet, filling the sky with awe. Unsure of what to do, he began wandering until he discovered a village. Hungry and broke, he tested his new search ability. At first nothing happened, but after scrawling symbols in the dirt, the spell triggered. Glowing markers revealed resources around him. Herbs, plants, and, oddly enough, what looked like a rock. But the rock turned out to be monster poop, surprisingly ranked higher in value than most of the herbs. Reluctantly, Takaru gathered it all. At the village gate, a weary guard stopped him. The guard introduced himself as Captain Marlowe and assumed Takaru might be a knight, but Takaru admitted he was only a gatherer. Marlowe let him through and pointed him toward the local shop. Inside, Takaru offered the strange materials he'd found. The shopkeeper's eyes lit up when he saw the monster dung, offering him a full gold coin for it. Shocked at the price, Takaru quickly sold his other herbs too. The shopkeeper, impressed, handed over a fortune in exchange and then asked Takaru to take on a task. Retrieve a rare or from a distant mountain. Now wealthy enough to stay at an inn, Takaru finally got to rest. An inn-servant brought him hot water to wash, though she explained that full baths were luxuries for nobles. Not wanting to settle, Takaru tried using his new magic. With a chant, water burst forth, drenching him in a cleansing torrent. Outside, the servant overheard his joyful reactions and blushed. The next day, while exploring, Takaru stumbled upon the remains of a fallen adventurer. Among the bones was a letter meant for his family, speaking of debts and hope. Feeling the weight of another struggle, Takaru buried the man and offered prayers for him. Later, he built a small campfire, summoned water, and prepared a simple stew with herbs and meat. As the aroma filled the air, he took a bite and smiled. After finishing his meal, Takaru ventured into the mysterious white forest, known for its ancient dragon legends. He knew monsters might be lurking, so he conjured a spell to light his path. The glow revealed scattered herbs around him. No rare ores in sight, but at least he hadn't run into any monsters yet. Feeling a little silly, he joked to himself that maybe his awful body odor was keeping them away as he darted through the forest. Following a faint light at the edge of the trees, Takaru suddenly stumbled into a deep chasm. Plummeting, he hastily muttered every spell he could think of until finally discovering one that allowed him to fly. The spell shimmered around him, slowing his fall, and he landed safely. Catching his breath, he noticed symbols indicating ores all around. Eagerly, Takaru pulled out his hammer and started mining. A chunk of silver clinked in his hand, but his hopes for Myethil were dashed. Using his search spell again, he found a hidden patch of ore. The ground trembled, but he ignored it to gather the precious rocks. Casting a fireball spell, he broke through a rock and uncovered tiny Myethil fragments. Though small in quantity, he collected them carefully. Exploring deeper, he discovered a crystal-clear lake. Scanning it, he realized the water itself was SS-ranked magical elemental water, a rare treasure. Excited, Takaru quickly learned that he had found an ancient dragon's nest. Suddenly, a deep voice echoed across the lake, demanding to know who dared enter. He froze as the water erupted, revealing a massive dragon. The dragon scowled at Takaru, but noticing the young man's calm demeanor, it paused. Respectful and cautious, Takaru apologized for intruding. The dragon examined him and finally asked his name. Takaru introduced himself, and the dragon, surprised by the sheer mana flowing through him, explained that his energy had woken it from slumber. The ancient beast identified itself as Valdius. Curious, Takaru asked if he could call him V, and the dragon agreed. Valdius requested a favor. With Takaru's extraordinary power, he could awaken his dragon offspring, whose magic had grown stagnant. As a reward, the dragon summoned a cluster of pure myethol ore and gifted it to Takaru. Next, the dragon produced a large black egg. Takaru held it carefully, hearing the faint heartbeat of the baby dragon within. Unsure how to awaken it, he asked V, who explained that pouring mana into the egg, like casting a light spell, would do the trick. Cautiously, Takaru concentrated, heating the egg. Suddenly, the egg's aura surged, siphoning his mana at an alarming rate. Realizing he had been tricked, Takaru felt his strength drain and vision blur as he sank into the water. A strange voice scolded him for carelessness, warning that he should have fled. The man reminded him that although he had barely begun his journey, his actions were already shaking the balance of planet Matius. When Takaru awoke, he found himself back in the nest, hearing a tiny squeal. Thinking it was a prank, he cast a light spell, but to his surprise, a dragon hatchling leapt onto his face. Carefully setting it down, he learned from V that he could name the baby. After some thought, he called it B, inspired by its black coloring. The hatchling happily nuzzled him in approval. V proudly referred to his child by the full name, Black Nobi Valdius, and allowed Takaru to take the young dragon on adventures. Before vanishing into the depths, V entrusted his baby to Takaru, confident in his strength. Grinning at the surreal experience, Takaru looked down at B and asked if it was ready for its first gathering journey. The little dragon chirped eagerly. Laughing, Takaru washed B to remove its stench, preparing both of them for the adventures that awaited. That was the end of episode 1. Don't forget to like and subscribe to not miss the next part. Green apples. After a while, Takaru finally steps out of the cave with B buzzing happily around him like he's having the time of his life. The forest around them glows softly under the moonlight, but Takaru decides that traveling at night sounds like a bad idea, mostly because he's starving. So, like any sensible adventurer, he sets up camp right there, getting ready for dinner. He pulls out some magic elemental water. As he looks into his bag, he remembers how V connected his pack to the magic lake, so he could feed B anytime. B gulps down the water and immediately asks for more, wagging his tail like a spoiled pet. With a sigh, Takaru pours another cup, but then B offers that same cup back to him. Guess he wanted to share. Takaru takes a sip, and the cool, refreshing taste hits like a healing potion after a boss fight. Feeling recharged, he sets down a few magic stones and casts a barrier around the camp. Even though those stones are crazy expensive, he uses them like their pocket change. But since he can make them himself using his mana, who cares? If he can print money, you might as well spend it. He then heats up another stone to cook. B's eyes widen as Takaru casually turns something worth a fortune into a camping stove. Tonight's menu? The same steak and stew combo as before. But who's complaining? It tastes divine. B drools at the smell of the sizzling meat, but Takaru worries it might be too strong for a baby dragon. So, he gives B a small piece to test. Of course, B burns his mouth instantly. Takaru chuckles, cools the next bite with a blow, and offers it again. This time, B eats happily, tail wagging as he fills his tiny belly. Watching B roll onto his back, Takaru wonders why he isn't sad about leaving his father behind, but then B just crawls up and hugs him. That's when Takaru realizes he's already chosen him as family. Feeling proud, he checks B's stats and nearly chokes. Even as a baby, he's a B-rank monster loaded with powerful elemental skills. Takaru gets serious for a moment. This little guy could probably nuke a village by accident, but right now he's just a sleepy kid. He warns B not to do anything reckless or V will scold them both. But before he can even finish, B's already snoring. Watching the little dragon sleep, Takaru wonders if the space manager paired them together just to mess with him. The next day, Takaru climbs up a mountain to get back to the forest. Under the sunlight, it looks completely peaceful. He chuckles, realizing maybe he shouldn't stress so much about the Ice Sky World's rules. While he plays, Takaru uses his search skill to find herbs to sell. Things go smoothly, until he flies back, terrified. Immediately, Takaru scans the area and senses multiple monsters nearby. He remembers how his scent used to scare them off, but that cave bath probably washed it away. Still, he's not running from a fight. Loot is loot. Just as he gets ready, a rock falcon shrieks behind him. Instead of panicking, Takaru stares it down and thinks, cute, dinner. Spotting its meaty legs, he grins. Guess we're making KFC tonight. The bird dives, but Takaru raises a magic shield and summons a storm of ice needles. In one hit, the falcon drops like a stone, crispy and ready to serve. But no time to celebrate. Serpent wolves close and fast. As one lunges, Takaru activates a speed buff, dodges midair, and slams down with a reinforced kick straight to the skull. Another comes, then another, and he takes them out in rapid succession. One sneaky wolf tries to flank him, but he senses it instantly and sends it flying with a clean counterattack. When the last one drops, Takaru starts collecting the monster loot like it's payday. Then, more monsters appear in the distance. Takaru sighs. He's not spending his whole day grinding XP. Before he can plan, B grabs him and starts flapping frantically. Takaru laughs. There's no way you can lift me. But then they're suddenly airborne. Shocked, he quickly uses a spell to lighten his body, and together they blast through the sky like a rocket. A moment later, Takaru realizes B's going too high. Way too high. He yells at him to slow down, but B panics and accidentally drops him midair. Takaru crashes into the ground, groaning as B lands beside him, licking his face like a guilty puppy. Turns out, they actually cleared the entire forest. Impressed and slightly traumatized, Takaru thanks B for the help, but tells him to chill next time. He's not built for Mach 5. B seems proud anyway, and tries to hug him, only to headbutt his stomach. After catching his breath, they continue toward Tormei village. On the way, B notices a glowing branch in Takaru's hand. He explains it's the Yggdrasil branch, an SS rank legendary item he got on his first day, though it's been dormant ever since. B tilts his head, then blows a bit of magic smoke on it. To Takaru's shock, the branch actually activates, pulsing with energy. Guess the baby dragon just casually reawakened a divine relic. Suddenly, a growl echoes through the forest. He tells B to stay alert. Before he can finish, B zooms off toward the sound. Of course you did, he sighs and runs after him. He finds B circling a tree where a young elf girl lies collapsed beneath it. Thinking she was attacked, Takaru approaches carefully until her growling stomach gives her away. She's just starving. When she weakly asks for water, Takaru hands her some from his bag. She gulps it down like she hasn't had a drink in days. Still hungry, she looks up at him with pleading eyes. Luckily, Takaru still has some lunch, so he gives her a sandwich. The elf devours it instantly, making happy noises that sound way too unrefined for her elegant race. Takaru just stares, mildly horrified. He reminds her that anything tastes amazing when you're starving. She laughs awkwardly, saying she's regained her will to live, but still doesn't know how she ran out of food so fast. Takaru points out that the village isn't far away. When she admits she left in a rush, he scolds her for being careless. Then, as the wind blows, he catches a whiff of her and immediately regrets it. You're supposed to smell like flowers, he says, not like whatever that is. The elf turns red, deeply offended, and storms off after thanking him for the food. Shrugging, Takaru collects more herbs on his way out of the forest. Outside, he spots a carriage on the road. It's pulled by a majestic E-rank unicorn horse. Fancy stuff. The driver, a friendly man named Poron, asks what Takaru is doing out here alone. Takaru explains he's heading to Tormei village. Poron looks surprised. You're walking all the way there? His wife and kids peek curiously from the carriage. Noticing the staff in Takaru's hand, Poron asks if he's a magician. Takaru quickly clarifies that he's just a gatherer. Poron looks impressed. Apparently, that's a rare job. Turns out they're heading the same way, so Poron offers him a ride. Takaru declines at first, saying he's too big to fit, but Poron insists, laughing that it's fine. The kids giggle at Takaru's size until he finally gives in and hops on the back. As they travel, he wonders why kids in this world seem to love him so much. Poron teases him again, but Takaru apologizes politely. The family insists they're happy to help a fellow Tormei traveler. Poron's daughter, Yunnan, even offers him a small gift. Touched, Takaru asks why they trust him so easily. Poron's son, Kin, proudly explains that if Takaru were a bad guy, their magical bell would have warned them. Takaru notices the little charm and thinks he could easily make one himself. Finally, he introduces himself properly, and Poron's wife, Eliza, greets him warmly. Then, Takaru's bag suddenly wiggles. The kids notice and ask about the strange noise. He tries to brush it off, but Eliza says it's fine. Many adventurers keep monster pets. Reluctantly, he lets B out, and the kids lose their minds over the adorable dragon. Poron and Eliza are stunned. Takaru lies quickly, saying B's just a black dragon, not wanting anyone to know he's actually an ancient one. They ask if he's a dragon knight, but Takaru explains he just hatched the egg by chance. B crawls all over him, squishing his face while the family laughs. Poron's jaw drops. Apparently, hatching a dragon egg alone is unheard of. When Takaru asks how rare dragons are, Eliza explains that even seeing a dragon knight is rare. Real dragons? Practically extinct. Takaru just smiles at B. Looks like his little travel buddy isn't so ordinary after all. Thinking about dragon knights from video games, Takaru wonders if he can find one in this world. Later at night, after they stop for a break, Takaru uses his magic stones to set up a barrier. Poron feels relieved that they won't be disturbed by any monsters, and Takaru tells him that B will be on the watch for anything suspicious. As Baby B flies around, the family feels safe with its power on their side. As Eliza gets ready to prepare dinner, Takaru asks if he can handle the cooking for the night. As he takes out his cooking set from his bag, the kids think that Takaru is a real magician. He explains that it's just a bottomless storage bag before beginning to cook. Once the food is done, the family feels excited to dig in. After Takaru invites them to begin, the kids start eating first and immediately fall in love with the food. Poran and Eliza also eat some food, and Eliza praises Takaru's cooking. However, Poran remains silent with his shoulders shaking, so Eliza asks him if he's okay. Suddenly, he looks up with tears and snot in his face, crying that he finally got to eat real food after all the bland dried meats during his journey. At Poran's exaggerated praise, Takaru starts laughing, but Poran insists that he use some kind of magic to enhance the food's taste. Even the kids start laughing at their dad's funny antics before finishing dinner. Once they're done, Poran takes out a guitar, and Eliza starts singing with him with music in the background. Takaru starts playing with Poran's happy kids, sharing simply joy with the family. He remembers his lonely life on Earth, enjoying his time with Poran's family. Takaru thinks that spending time with other people is an amazing experience, feeling glad that the ice sky world has given him a new life with other people. He puts B to sleep after they finish playing. With the baby dragons snoring away, Takaru settles into his bed, looking out at the beautiful starry sky. But that's where the video ends. Like and sub to not miss the next part.